Okay, so let's put what we just learned into some practice here and tidy this up a little bit. So as it stands, this is a mesh, as we can see there. And what we're going to do is we're going to use sewing springs to kind of draw all this loose stuff back in underneath the mattress. As it stands at the minute, I'm quite happy with this shape. I mean, you don't have to stop yours at frame 17 or 20 or whatever. It's wherever you like what you see. I mean, your bed's going to be a bit different from mine. Your taste might be a bit different from mine. But I kind of like this kind of randomness in the shape. These crumples and ruffles and creases, and where the sheet folds over, stuff like that. And I think it really adds to the bed. So we just need to tidy this up. So first thing we need to do, we've already made this a mesh, that's fine. I like this shape on the top. It's the bottom I want to tidy up. So I'm going to go into a front or a side view, it doesn't really matter. Let's do this on the side view. Right, I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to make sure that my background geometry is turned on. Now, as I said, I like the shape that most of this has given me. Okay, so I'm going to select all these. Okay, so selecting everything apart from the bits I want to tidy up. Right, so somewhere about there. And I'm going to pin these. You remember from when we did the first cloth modifier, we used pins to hold things in place while the modifier worked. So I'm going to pin all of these vertices to hold this shape. And to do that, we had to go to the object data, and we had to create a vertex group. Okay, so I've got all these selected. I'm going to call this group pins. So I'll double click that and rename it pins. Okay, I've got all these selected, and I need to assign assign these vertices to that group. So if I deselect and select again, you see that as stuck. Right, okay, so now we need to do the sewing springs. This is getting very messy looking, so let me turn off the background geometry. Yeah, it's a bit easier to work with. We need to make some edges here to use as sewing springs. So just like when you're making a real life bed, you want to tuck these corners in underneath. So I'm going to select each of these, each diagonal edge. That's not quite the diagonal one. There it is there. I'm going to press my F key to make a face, although because there's only two vertices it'll only make an edge, which is fine. I want to create a second group here, and I'll call this springs. So double click it and rename it springs. Okay, and I want to assign this to that group. Okay, I want to do the same with the opposing diagonal corners. Make an edge there and assign it. Okay, so as we run the animation, it's going to pull these opposite corners, or these diagonal corners, in towards each other and basically fold the sheet under the mattress, which is what we want. So I want to go to my underneath view. Now to get this precise, I mean, if you press 7 it goes to top view. Okay, but if you press Control 7 it goes to the opposite view, the underside view, the bottom view, as we see up here, bottom. Okay, so now I can start stitching or making sewing springs across the bed, and I'm going to do this quite randomly. So if I pick this one here and shift select this one here, press F to make that edge, assign it, come across a bit, say there and there. And you see, I'm not being too picky, I'm not keeping them exactly in line, because actually having them slightly offline will help to create more kind of contour, more creases, that kind of thing. So let's assign that. Let's just work our way down here. Let's assign that. what I'm finding here is this seems to be picking up some of the bottom vertices for some reason, like it's picked that up there rather than there. Let's try this again. Might have to zoom in to be more precise with it, but there you go. F, and we'll assign that. We'll come across here, make that edge, assign, do about 2 or 3 more here on this orientation of the bed. Let's come across here, F, we'll make a sign there, and we'll just kind of come into this corner here a little bit, maybe this one. Okay, we'll press F and we'll assign that. Now we need to do a few going the other way to pull these two edges together. Okay, so go there and there, F and assign, we'll go there and somewhere about there, F, assign, we'll go there and there, F, assign. A bit boring me talking you through selecting all of these, but you know, this is how we work in Blender. We sometimes have to do these monotonous tasks, you know, to get what we need. So if you don't like it, just fast forward. And we'll do a final one here, there and there, F, assign. Okay, so we got these sewing springs and we got the pins all around here. Okay, let's go back into object mode. So we've got our sheet selected. Let's come across to our physics tab. Now, because we applied the cloth modifier, this is no longer a cloth, so we need to make it a cloth again. And we do that by pressing a cloth, obviously. We were working in cotton, let's keep that the same. Now, pinning, I like the shape that I had on the upper part of the mattress, so I made a pinning group. So I will select pinning and I will select my pins group. Okay, wonderful. Okay, cloth collision, I'll turn on a bit of self collision there, and now we've got the cloth sewing springs, so let's activate that, bring that down. Sewing force, once again, I'm going to bring to somewhere between 4 and 5. 4.5 will work, and I need the group to be my springs. Okay, so that's all set, I believe. Let's just check the mattress is a collision. Yep. So let's select my sheet again. Let's bring this back to frame 1 and let's run the animation. So once again, this time, first time around, it's pulling it. Okay, so you can see that the sheets start to pull under the mattress as if we tuck the sheet in under. The corners are starting to pull together, so we're just going to run this for a moment or two and see what kind of results we're getting. And because I made the pinning groups, all this top shape that I liked, that I was happy with, is staying exactly in place. If we didn't do that pinning, it would try to pull the sheet down further and make, you know, we'd lose this shape and it would try and make new shapes, and it may or may not work. When I seen the shape that I liked, I made the pinning group. Okay, this is pulling together quite nicely. It's not going to pull flush all the way in, but it's going to tidy it up, you know, to a point where it's usable for this project. Okay, as you see, it's pulling in nicely underneath there. Just going to let that run a little bit more and grab something to lubricate my throat while this is doing that. Okay. Okay, although this is pulling in more, it's not actually doing much more down here. So for that reason, I'm going to pause it here. It's not going to affect it. It's going to be absolutely fine. But I will talk about something while we've got this here. Because the reason it's not pulling this all away, it's pulling these very corners all away. If I wanted to spend the time, you know, obviously in the tutorial I'm not going to do that. But to make these pull in a bit closer, what I do is, apart from the diagonal corners, I worked up 4 or 5 vertices on each corner and made more sewing springs, so it kind of pulls everything together instead of pulling the very tip. But this is going to be fine, even for this. It's going to be fine. So I'm quite happy with that, I think. So I'm just going to do a quick test here. So this is going to go onto the bed. So let me go to the bed layer. The mattress is hidden, and let me shift select this layer, and we see how a mattress is fitting, or a sheet is fitting over the mattress. We've got a couple of problems here, but we can sort that out. It's poking through the bottom. It's kind of poking and jagged on the side here. But we can sort that out. That's not a big problem. I'm quite happy with the way that is at the minute. We've got this kind of crease in the sheet here. We've got these rumples. Let's use a mat cap again, so I'm kind of get a better idea. This isn't no longer perfectly flat. There is shape and form and definition to it. The pillows are a bit low. We can pull them up. That's no problem. So I'm quite happy with that. Alright, so I'm happy with that position. So I'm going to apply that modifier again, the cloth modifier. So I'll press apply, and this then becomes a mesh in its form. That's great. That's looking good. Right, so we've got this sheet with these couple of problems. How am I going to sort these out? Well, I'm going to use a bit of sculpting. So let me tab and sculpt mode. If you don't have pie menus enabled, you can always pick up your sculpt mode here. Now, we haven't done any sculpting up to now, and I'm not going to go into everything on sculpting right now because it would take too long. It would take another lesson in its entirety. So let me just run through a couple of basics. Okay, we went in sculpt mode with the mattress selected. That means that it's only going to work on the mattress, not the whole object. Okay, now we've got this red circle around my cursor. You can see that, which is the radius of the sculpt, of the influence of the sculpt tool, and we can adjust this here. Default is 35. If I increase this up to, you can see my red circle is a lot bigger. So let me just reset that to about 35. If you want a bigger tool, you can basically adjust that. Another way you can do it, not as accurate, is to zoom in model out. So effectively, as you can see there, my red circle covers the whole mattress from side to side. As I zoom in, it only covers a bit. So if I was to sculpt at this level, it would affect the whole mattress rather than just this edge. So it's kind of like playing around to get the size of tool you want and where you want it, or you can adjust it here. Strength, once again, is set at 0.5. How is like pen pressure. The higher the number, the harder you're pressing on the pen. Okay, and the lower number, the softer, obviously. Now, we have a number of different sculpt tools here, and if we click on this picture of the way this tool works, you can see there are a number. Okay, for this, you're probably only going to be interested in about 2 of them, which would be inflate, smooth. They're the only 2 we're really interested in now. We may need to do a bit of inflation. Mostly we'll be smoothing. Okay, so to change the sculpt tool, obviously you press that and press on the tool that you want. Okay, now one thing to be very careful of is, by default, when you're sculpting, Blender adds asymmetry, which basically means whatever I do on this side will be repeated on this side. But because this isn't totally symmetrical, I don't want that. So let's open up the symmetry lock and let's turn off the X mirror. Okay, so that just means I'm just working on whatever I see rather than working here and it's also duplicating it on that side. So we'll turn off that X mirror. Right, so I've got my smooth tool selected. I'd want to tidy up some of these bits down here. Right, well, let's kind of go in underneath. I'm panning around with my middle mouse button, okay, and then to activate the tool it's your left mouse button. So let's get rid of these bits sticking out under the bed. There we go, there's a couple here. Right, there's no more there, so that's working. Now these are very messy here, so let me try and smooth these up a bit. Okay, now you see it's only going so far there. That's because the geometry is much further back here behind it. If I go into wireframe mode, you can see we've got geometry back here. But while I've got this in wireframe mode, I'm just going to smooth these up a little bit underneath this hidden stuff, so it allows what we can see to draw back. This isn't holding it out in position. So let's go back into solid view. You see a bit more influence on that. And sometimes, I mean, here, how to explain this? We're looking nearly side on the bed, but I'm trying to sculpt flat or smooth the underside of the bed. So really what I need to do is put my view more towards the underside and then work the tool. Okay, something here is still holding it, so let me go into wireframe again, and it will be this kind of geometry down here that's holding it. So let me smooth some of this. Just kind of working. Let's go back into a solid view again. Okay, maybe a little more strength there. Try and pull it in. Okay, this isn't working, so I'm going to use another one here, which is flatten wherever that is. Okay, let's see how that works. Okay, let's go into a wireframe. No, flatten's not doing much with that. So let's smooth again. Let's smooth some more of this stuff. Let's add a bit more strength there, just to quicken up this underneath procedure. Okay, you can see where it's pulling this geometry close together. Let's go back to a solid, and let's bring our strength back to about 0.5. Near enough. Okay, so actually the way that is now I'm quite happy with, because it's, the kind of unevenness you get after you tuck a sheet in. So I'm quite happy with that. Let's come over to this end, and we're going to have the same problem here with the other geometry holding it. So let's get this, let's get a slightly bigger radius on this and slightly stronger. That's pulling in a lot quicker now. Alright, let's go back to solid view. Alright, that's kind of too strong. Now if you make a mistake in sculpting, or it goes too far, or it did something you didn't want, your best friend is always Control Z or Control Z to undo as many steps as you want. Okay, so let me just add a slight bit here. Let's bring the radius back down to, well, the radius is alright. Let's bring the strength down a little bit. About there. My radius is too big there, so I'm actually zooming in to effectively reduce my radius. Let's go to wireframe again. What's holding it down here? This stuff. Right. Solid. There we go. I'm just kind of making this kind of smooth shade. So once again, I'm kind of happy with that bulge. Quite like it. This artifact here is probably because part of the underlying mesh is poking through. You've seen the reverse side of the mesh. So let me just turn off backface culling, see if it gets rid of most of it, and it does. Let's tidy up this corner a little bit, coax it up. And just kind of working it. You know, if I make a mistake, I can always use Control Z backwards. You know, so there's no need to be shy of this. You know, the mistakes are easy to undo as long as you don't go too far that you know, run out of memory for Control Z. And come on, just kind of coaxing this up. And yeah, there we go. That's starting to look a bit. It's just coming in, and it's a matter of working it. Let's just coax this up there. Add in a little. That's all right. Let's tidy this in a bit here. See, I kind of went too far up there, so I'm just going to Control Z from my last stroke, come in a bit closer, so effectively I've got a smaller brush size. And what's happened here? If I come out of sculpt mode, yeah, somehow I come into object mode. Let's go back into sculpt mode. Yeah, it's probably the underlying geometry again. So I've got the wrong thing selected. Solid. Alright, what's going on here? Let's go into object mode. Right, so I'm making sure I've got my mattress selected before I go into sculpt mode. Now I can start to sculpt this up. So Z, wireframe, let's smooth some of this stuff down, this underneath, so it allows us to smooth what's above. That's solid. There we go. A bit much there. So I'll Control Z backwards. Okay. Yeah. You know, that's kind of the effect I'm looking for. If you look, it was like this, which is totally unrealistic. That looks a lot more realistic. So let's bring this down. This one's coming in quite easy, actually. Wireframe, let's smooth some of this stuff down. Z to solid. Go on, in you go. There we go. Okay, so that's looking a bit more realistic, you know, as a crumpled sheet on a bed. Right, just a quick look round. The mattress is sticking way out underneath here, and way out too far here. Let me turn off backface culling for a minute, because I want to see the inside of these. Right, so quite simply what I can do is I can scale this on the x-axis, x-axis. So SX, and just bring this in a bit. So it's coming inside the headboard and the footboard there. That's looking a lot better. How's it looking on the width? I'm quite happy with that. You could scale it on the wide to kind of bring it in. Right, yeah, we got a mattress underneath. So let me select layer 2, select the mattress, just grab it to make sure I've got the mattress, yep, and delete that. So X to delete. So we've just got the sheet left. Shift select layer 1. So let's select sheet again, and we're looking at the scaling on a Y. You know, we could bring it in if we wanted. Personally, I kind of like the look of it coming over the bed rails. It softens that whole thing up. That's looking very square and pristine there. So if I S and Y, just bring it slightly over, it's giving that much softer look. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the scale of that and how it's all looking. Let's bring it back up the right way round. I need to lift these pillows up a little bit, so I'll shift select all three, just drag them up, and yeah, that's looking, to my eye anyway, very, very good. Right, so that's about it for this week. So next week, finally, we can get onto texturing. We've got a couple of little issues to clean up here. Putting caps on these cylinders here. We smooth that. Just a couple of very minor issues, and we're going to get on to UV unwrapping it all and get onto the texturing. We're going to be texturing in cycles, and we're going to be using some really good lighting, put some shadows and highlights and specular and everything on it. So it should be looking pretty good. Let me put this into the perspective mode. It probably gives a more realistic view of how and I'm quite happy with that. So anyway, that's it for this week, and I hope you learned a trick or two. Hope you're going to try it out for yourselves. Any problems, just get in touch with me, because this cloth modifier business can get a bit tricky. I'm always happy to help, and that's it. See you next week.